Hey, this is Aditya from LightHaven. Today we're going to be talking about setups and disguises for single stick fighting. When it comes to stick fighting, there are two main styles that you can use. There are other sub-styles, but there are two main styles. Either you can be offensive and you are taking the initiative and you are putting the pressure and you are dictating the pace, or you can be counter-offensive, in which case you're using baits, you're playing around with range, you're playing around with timing. And both of these styles are amazing. It just depends on your personality, what you prefer, or what works best against your opponent. Today we're going to be focusing on the first style. We're going to be focusing on being more offensive. And now when I'm being more offensive, when I'm the one who's putting the pressure on, the more telegraphed that my strikes are, the easier it's going to be for my opponent to counter me. And so that's sort of the topic of today's video. How do I disguise or set up my combinations or my strikes? Let me show you an example. If I am moving around and I'm fighting an opponent, as soon as I pull my stick back and I step in, he knows that I'm coming to hit him. And so he's going to be ready for that. Either he's going to circle out, he's going to have some sort of umbrella ready, or he's going to step in to attack me. Because he knows what I'm going to do. I've telegraphed it, especially because in weapon fighting, we are fighting from much longer ranges. So my opponent has so much more time to adjust. I started thinking about this topic actually many years ago when I fought Tuhon Mick, who is currently under GT at least, the most senior Tuhon that there is. And Tuhon Mick actually broke my thumb with the beautiful combination, and it was really simple combination, but he disguised his entry so well. He disguised his entry behind an angle 3, he came up with an angle 4, and then he came in with an angle 1 that caught somewhere, somehow it caught some seam in my glove, and I broke my thumb fighting him. But I always remember the way he entered, because 1 minute he was outside of long range, we couldn't reach each other, and then he sort of stepped back into his reverse diagonals and entered behind a reverse diagonal, and before I knew it, we were at long range and then medium range and then close range. He covered, he disguised his entry, he disguised his strikes so well that it caught me off guard. And since then, I've been playing around with one major drill to help me disguise my attack. It's a pretty simple drill. Take any one attack that you want. For the sake of today, we're going to stick to sort of the most common attacks, right? So we have 1, 2, you can go horizontal, medium or low, or you can go reverse diagonal, medium or low, and you can even maybe have a low thrust. So pick one of these strikes. I'm going to pick an angle 1 for now because it's the most common. I know that in order to strike angle 1 with power, I need some sort of loading. That's how I've been taught. However, as soon as I load, everybody knows what I'm going to do. So how do I disguise that load? Or can I disguise the strike and not have a load at all? And so for that, I'm going to look for movements I can add before the angle 1 that can lead into the angle 1. So let's just demonstrate some examples of that. Let's talk about an umbrella to an angle 1. So I'm moving around, I enter behind that umbrella, and then I'm stepping in with that angle 1. Again, I'm moving around, I enter behind that umbrella, and then I hit with that angle 1. So that as I start entering, coming closer to my opponent, if he hits me with an angle 1, I'm covered with that umbrella, and then I can check that hand or not, depending on the range, and then attack with that angle 1. So I am disguising my entry or protecting my entry behind this umbrella. There can be many other solutions to this as well. I'm here, I come up with a thrust, and then I'm coming down with an angle 1. So again, I'm disguising, instead of having to come back here, instead of me going boom, come back here, and then attack, which leaves this big gap and it tells my opponent what I'm going to do, I am coming up with a thrust and then directly from here coming down with that angle 1. So I'm disguising that angle 1 behind that thrust. And this can work whether you're counter-attacking or whether you're being offensive. Someone's giving you an angle 1 from there. I'm stepping in behind that angle 1 with the thrust, picking it up, and then I'm attacking them with my angle 1. We're going to take a short break to thank our sponsors, our patrons. It's notoriously difficult to earn any money on YouTube, and without the support of our patrons, we would not be able to do what we do. We upload about 2 to 3 exclusive videos on Patreon every week. For more details about our Patreon page, check out the link in the description down below. Thank you to all of our patrons, and let's get back to the video. You can do this with any strike. You can do this with an angle 2. What can I disguise my angle 2 behind? What can I add before my angle 2 that's going to make it harder to predict? The simplest solution is this angle 3. So I'm moving around, angle 3, angle 2. I disguise that angle 2 behind the angle 3. Or I'm moving around, low thrust to angle 2. I'm just trying to find ways that I don't leave empty spaces. If I just go angle 1 and angle 2, at the end of the angle 2, there's this empty space before the angle 1. And that empty space either allows my opponent to predict what I'm going to do or allows them to attack me in that empty space. But if I am entering behind something like the umbrella, then there is no empty space for my opponent to fill. And if he does try, then I'm protected by the umbrella, or I'm protected by the thrust, or I'm protected by whatever else you might choose to have there. A Wittig or a jab, something or the other. You're cutting out that empty space, but still being able to enter with the angle 1. One small thing to play around with in this is also not always attacking from the side that you would normally attack that angle from. So an angle 1, for example, is a forehand. One way of doing this is attacking the angle 1 from the backhand. So let's say I do jab to angle 1, right? I go stick jab. I don't want to come all the way back to my shoulder here, or I don't want to come all the way back to my shoulder here. It's a slightly awkward motion. So I do the angle 1 almost like a redondo, but it's still angle 1 because I'm hitting 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So I jab and I go angle 1. Maybe that angle 1 is to the hand or to the leg. It depends on what's going on. Another similar example would be in angle 2. I've ended up on my forehand side and I want to hit an angle 2 from here. If I just go like this, it's not going to have much power. So instead I Wittig to angle 2. Pikiti guys, Pikiti to Shakali guys will recognize these as our reverse matrix or our reverse angles, where we're learning to strike a forehand strike from the backhand, a backhand strike that starts from the forehand. We go through all 5 attacks like this. But this is also something to play around with because it just makes you that much more unpredictable. Now the way to play around with this drill is that you start some sort of a free flow. And in your mind, you differentiate between when I'm just flowing and when I am hitting my opponent or attacking my opponent. There's a difference in extension of the limb. Here I'm just moving around. I'm just keeping my limbs close to me, not allowing them to be hit, moving my weapon around so that it becomes hard for my opponent to enter, right? I'm staying nice and close. Here I'm hitting my opponent with broken slashes, fluid slashes, thrusts, whatever it may be. There's a clear difference in how much I am extending my weapon, right? And you can, however many attacks you want to add into this, there should be a difference between me just sort of keeping a moving guard and me attacking and then keeping a moving guard. You should be able to tell the difference in how much I am extending my limbs. Now you pick one attack. It could be anything. It could be an angle 1, it could be an angle 2. For the sake of this video, we're going to choose an angle 1. It's just the easiest one to do. And I'm going to decide that I am always going to enter when I start with my extended attacks that I'm going to hit with power and I need to extend my limb for. The first attack I'm going to start with is an angle 1. And so now I need to figure out ways to disguise that. So I'm moving around, my weapon is close to me, I'm moving around, umbrella to angle 1 and then whatever follows it. Step back again, I'm moving around, jab to that reverse angle 1. Moving around, reverse thrust to that angle 1 and then whatever it is, and then I'm exiting again. And make it a very clear distinction. One other way you can do that is when you go from your sort of moving guard to attacking, you step forward, right? So then you know you're entering into long range or medium range and hitting your opponent. And then when you step back, you're out of range again, and then you can go back to your simple flow. And then again, I'm going to enter behind something. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, if you learned from what you saw, please do like and share this video. If you have anything to add, leave that in the comments down below. Please do subscribe to the channel. All of these things really do help out the school and the channel a lot. A huge thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to know more about our Patreon page and the exclusive content that we offer there, check out the link in the description down below. Lastly, thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.